Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story TV and the Her Story podcast. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am excited to launch our brand new segment called Her Story Women's Health. Now, as you know, the Her Story movement was started from my own personal experience, having collapsed with congestive heart failure in 2017. I realized at that time that your health is your wealth. Unless you are vibrant and healthy, you're no good to anybody else, not even yourself. So I have been asking a number of health professionals who have a focus on women's health to come online and share their stories and educate us with information that women need to know. It's all about self-care. It's about preempting disease. They say that disease is a word broken into two, dis-ease. So unless things are okay in terms of your mental health, your physical health, you will manifest in situations that will bring you to a halt, like what happened to me. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, how old you are, and share your story with us today.
Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Tanmeet Sethi, and I am in Seattle, Washington, which is on the western coast of the United States. It's actually unceded land of the Duwamish and Coast Salish peoples here in the United States. And I am 51 years old. And I'm here to talk to you about the critical importance of our well-being and our mental health. You know, I was pregnant with my third child on top of the world when suddenly my dreams were shattered. And my second child, barely 3 years old at the time, was handed a death sentence, an ALS-like disease in children, degenerative neuromuscular disorder called Duchenne muscular dystrophy. And from that moment on, my life became a before and an after. Now, what I didn't know then, because I thought at that point joy would be elusive for me, and what I didn't know as a sick American physician and justice activist, was that the greatest fight I would learn would be the fight for myself. So I have fought for social justice for 25 years on the front lines in the US and globally with trauma victims. I have been fighting for justice on the streets, in the courtrooms, in the exam rooms. But in that moment, when my son was handed that diagnosis and my family's life was upended, I thought there was no justice to be had. I thought that my life was over. And what I didn't know was that if I walked back towards this pain, I wanted to escape, that I wanted to change and have be done. If I walked back towards it, I would find something revolutionary. And that was my joy. And that's what I'm here to talk to you about today. Because my joy became my justice work. And now today, finding and seeking joy is the most deep and potent medicine I know. As an integrative physician, as a mother, as a wife, as a sister, as a friend, an activist in the community, what I thought was that my joy was separate from all of those things, that it was something you did on the side, that it was something you did in your free time, or when you had enough money, or when life was going right. And what I realize now is that joy is a birthright. Joy is an innate right. We were born with it. No one can take it away, and no one gives it to us but ourselves. And that is my most potent medicine, and my mission now is to teach other women that your joy is meant to be had. It is not frivolous. It is deep liberation work in your body. Because here's the thing. We are taught that happiness and joy are the same thing. They're used interchangeably. But I think that is actually a harmful mental health conversation. What I think the real conversation is the difference between those two. Because happiness is a binary construct. It is a cognitive evaluation of what is happening in our life. And so if your life is not happy, if you are in poverty, if you are working two jobs, if you just lost your marriage, if your children, something tragic happens, whatever may be the reason, if that construct is not happy, then we're made to be felt that happiness is not for us, that feeling better isn't possible, that actually we are not good enough at feeling better. But what I want you to understand is that joy comes from the same deep well as our pain. It comes from the same capacity that we have for love, meaning, and connection. It is innate. And you are not broken. The systems are broken. The world is broken. Bad things happen. Life is not fair. But when you realize that searching for fairness will break your spirit, but searching for justice will raise your soul, you understand that actually joy is accessible to all of us. And not only is it accessible, it is critical for us all to find joy in our lives with the pain so that we may thrive, so that we may rise, so that we may reclaim our power. Because the truth is, all the suffering that we go through in the world, all the loss, all the grief that holds power, and all these systems of oppression thrive when you do not. And so joy is critical to our health. It is critical to our well-being, and it is critical to our way of reclaiming and standing in the world powerfully. I used to think that stress caused disease because things were just too hard and we didn't take care of ourselves. But for 25 years, I've been studying as a physician and working with patients and working in the most trauma stricken communities and learning that actually the way that our bodies protect us during times of oppression or suffering or grief or loss is to help us cope in the moment, but sometimes that is prolonged and does not serve us any longer. And so each moment that we can reclaim ease, safety, expansiveness in our body is a moment where we can reclaim joy, connection, and meaning. And those things all help us reclaim our power. Now, I know this can feel like a big concept and it can feel hard for people. They will ask me, but how do I do that? Well, that's why I wrote a whole book on it called Joy is My Justice. But what I say is simple. It may not sound easy, but it's simple. Is that if you can walk into your body gently, Step into your body gently every day and raise your awareness of what is flowing in your body, of the trauma, of the loss, of the grief, of the emotions. If you can meet that pain and hold it lovingly and accept it as part of the human experience while still holding moments of gratitude, love, hope, and grace for something better, what we realize is that our body is a translator of our life. And even though our body holds all our trauma, it is also where it heals. Now, I am aware of the toxic positivity that happens in this world and definitely in our whitewashed wellness industries, where we are told to hack ourselves to happiness, to be grateful for everything, even if things are hard, to love ourselves. And yet, what I will tell you is that that positivity is toxic because it incites your nervous system further. It makes you feel invisible. It makes you feel broken because someone is always trying to fix you. And if we can understand all of those practices through a lens of equity and justice, if we actually translate those tools with the neuroscience the way they were meant to, what we realize is they are all tools to reclaim power, to reclaim ease and safety and power in our bodies. And when we do that, we reclaim joy as a practice to be had every single day. So, what I'm hoping for is that we change the conversation so that women everywhere can reclaim their power, can understand that we were meant to and deserve to have joy, that we don't have joy just to be better at other things, to take care of others, to do our jobs better, to be better mothers, to be better partners. We reclaim joy because we are sacred human beings who deserve it. And when joy is stripped away, we lose our humanity. So sometimes people will ask me if that means that I'm happy all the time. And I would say no. My son is declining rapidly. Things are very hard. The days are not always happy. But I have never been this blissful in the afters of my life since the diagnosis. Because what I do now is practice joy every day. And what that means is if I'm feeling very sad and tearful and overwhelmed, that I find a moment of connection, of gratitude for the fact that I'm awake and alive enough to feel all of it, to know that my story is bigger. And maybe I don't do that every day. Maybe some days I just sit in the darkness and know that I need to meet this pain so that I may meet bigger joy. And some days I may move my body to move my mind and say, I'm feeling stuck and I deserve to move into a bigger story that sees my life as a bigger story than the one I was given. So, I often say that when my son was diagnosed, my dreams were shattered. Every dream I had as a mother was shattered. But what I didn't know is that the dreams I would remake would be far bigger than the ones that were broken. Because I realized my dreams were too small. They were in a box that I was given of what my children should do or accomplish or what my motherhood should look like. And now I understand that actually the dreams that I have around dignity, love, justice, joy, connection, meaning are far, far bigger than any story, one diagnosis, or one piece of news can be. So maybe you're thinking, as you're listening to this, that you're either thinking, I'm stuck in a story, or maybe you're thinking, I don't deserve joy, or maybe you're just wondering, how do I even start this path? And what I will tell you is that story is medicine. That's why I love this project, because story is medicine. At a neuroscience level, when I tell you my story, if it resonates at all for you, if it moves anything within you, then it is your brain's mirror neurons, the parts of your brain that say, I want that. I want to mimic that. I want to have that. Those neurons give messages to your body and your brain. And that's how story becomes medicine. And I give you this medicine today in hopes that it will incite and inspire the medicine that is within you. Because all of us have the capacity to cultivate our joy and our best life, no matter what, no matter what, whether it's our race, our gender expression, our financial status, or any story that you've been given. We all deserve that.
I love the way my life unravels sometimes, how the universe attracts just the right people to this platform. Story is medicine. You are so right. In Africa, we don't have traditional medical doctors. If anything happens to a woman in the community, if a woman is raped, if she's abused, she goes to the other women and she tells her story. We
Yes.
actually believe that a problem shared is a problem halved, that the minute you tell your story to someone else, it's not yours to carry alone.
Mm.
So thank you for bringing that to the fore as we begin this new segment for the Her Story Circle with a focus on women's health. Now, give us some tips, some things that somebody can do to step into joy when you are in the middle of chaos and tragedy and sadness. Sometimes it's not easy
Mm-mm.
to step into that space. Give us some tips, some ideas. What can a woman do when she finds herself, like you did in the position you were in, getting the diagnosis of your son's health?
Yeah. Well, I offer that there are many ways to step into this. So I'm not sure what the right way will be for any one person. So I'll just offer a few ideas. My book is full of them. But what I would say is the first thing might be to just notice that nothing happens to us because we deserve bad things. And to wonder the way that we say, why me? Why did this happen? Why is this my story? If we can flip it to why not me, we understand that it is simply almost ridiculous to wonder how bad things happen because they happen because the world is like that. Now, that doesn't mean you accept inequities or evil or injustice. What it means is you start with a question that will turn you back towards your life. That might be just accepting that your anger is necessary. Your sadness is part of your healing. Your frustration is because you love so deeply and you are upset that you have to do whatever it is in front of you. So, accepting your emotions is really the first step to accepting your life. And your pain can be your greatest teacher. The truth is, we are primarily programmed to walk away from pain, to escape it. I wanted to do the same thing. But when we walk back towards it and embrace it as part of our humanness, it is actually the first step to joy. So, asking questions instead of looking for answers, holding your emotions as necessary. Now, there's good science actually to show that even just labeling an emotion as it comes will get us out of our threat centers in the middle of the brain and put us in the front of our brain where we make change and have motivation. So, that's a question. Do you Are you able to just touch emotions? Anger, I see you. Sadness, I feel you. And not the big work of accepting them and holding them right away, but just labeling them allows us, actually, the neuroscience shows in the brain, to make what we need happen so that we can change what's in front of us.
I remember listening to a podcast once. I can't remember who it was who said, Your emotions are like your children. When they come to you, you shouldn't push them away. A lot of times we want to resist, we want to push that feeling away because it's uncomfortable. But if you pull it towards you and just sit with it for a while, like your children, they want your attention. And if you sit with them for a few minutes, they have your attention, it passes through you. So nothing is static. The only constant in life is change, and
Right.
those emotions will change as well. So thank you for
I
emphasizing on
love
that.
that. And you might know, Katrina, that poem by Rumi, The Guest House. It's very similar to what you're saying, just sort of that's a beautiful poem that I come back to over and over if people haven't read it. Just that idea of all our emotions are guests and they are here to visit us. And I would offer that there is a way that when we do that, we actually have less resistance to them. They hold less power over us. And so I use this formula in my book as well as in my TED Talk of suffering equals pain times resistance. S equals P times R. The pain is what we're going through with whether we can change it or not. The resistance is our amplifier of, I don't want this. Why is this happening? Why is this my life? And that's how the suffering gets amplified. If we can tone down the R, if we can just turn back towards the pain and, like you're saying, see them as just children coming to visit us, the suffering actually decreases and then we can manage the pain at hand. That's big enough.
Now, the practice of Ayurvedic medicine is something that a lot of people have very little knowledge, experience about. A lot of us go down the traditional medicine route, the pharmaceutical route. Tell us some of the pros and cons if somebody wanted to step into looking for these alternatives. Where would you start?
It's a big question, right? I think that first, I love when people have cultural histories of healing that they can start with. I have my own, such as Ayurvedic. You spoke of some already in your culture around stories and coming for healing. I think starting with your ancestry and what really speaks to you and your DNA is helpful. If there aren't those stories, then it's really about understanding that, food is medicine, how we think is medicine, how we live and move in our lives is medicine, nature is medicine. So start with the basics. Really start with what am I putting in my body and how is it affecting me? Can I just notice it? Is the food I'm ingesting serving me? Maybe it is. I'm not talking about healthy versus unhealthy. I'm just asking for your individual awareness. Am I in nature enough? There are phytochemicals released from trees that actually decrease our stress hormones. Am I breathing those in enough? Am I connecting to the world around me? Are there toxic relationships or toxic patterns or toxins in my environment through factories or paint or so forth? And really just start there. Once you get more interested in your body and notice things, you might want to find a provider like me or someone else who's integrative and who integrates Western and Eastern, ancient and modern modalities and brings them together for the best medicine. But I always remind patients that the most important medicine is within you already.
I love that. We have the ability to self heal. Our bodies are geared to keeping us alive. Every single cell is intelligent. And when things are out of whack, our bodies know just what to do. Now, you've touched on something that I have been exploring lately. Food is medicine.
Hmm.
A lot of times we eat very unconsciously.
Hmm.
We walk into a supermarket, we pick up a product, we don't read the labels. We are consuming food very, very unconsciously. Now, again, how do you transition to thinking this way? It's a completely different way of thinking. When I started trying to correct my issues with high blood pressure, when I was trying to reduce my weight. I
Mhm.
started reading labels and I was shocked at how much sugar I was taking in, things that I didn't even realize had sugar, how much sodium and salt is in most of these products that have preservatives. Talk a little bit about food as medicine.
Yeah. Oh, you touch so well on these things. It's interesting you say that because one of the first things I talk to people about in terms of if they say I want to change the way I eat is I talk about mindful eating. And so for instance, I had a patient come to me whose doctor sent him to me for consultation because he was quite overweight and he wanted to change that. So when I asked him what he was eating, we went through a whole food history. He told me he eats ice cream every night. And I said, "Okay, how much ice cream do you eat?" And he said, "I don't know. I eat it out of a tub, so I don't measure it." And I said, "Well, what are you doing while you eat the ice cream?" And he said, "I'm watching TV." And I said, "Okay." And at the end of our visit, when we were going over a couple of things to do before our next visit, I said, the only food thing I want you to do is turn off the TV while you're eating the ice cream." And he looked at me like, "You're not going to tell me to stop eating the ice cream?" And I said, "No, because I don't even know why you're eating it, what you're thinking when you eat it, what your body's feeling like when you eat it, because you're escaping the awareness by having the TV on." And so it's this simple act, like you're saying, of reading a label, of turning off screens while you're eating, of not of sitting at a table with others you love and just noticing your body and what it feels like when you eat the food you're eating. Before we can even make change, we need to have awareness around what we need to change, what doesn't serve us. And so I would urge anyone who's thinking about food as medicine to first just pay attention. And then as they pay attention, they can do simple experiments and pay attention to that. What would it be like to not eat anything out of a box for 7 days? Now, if that's accessible to you, if that works for your finances, for your life, the way it's set up, or your surroundings, what would it be like even for a day? What would it be like to not eat sugary foods at breakfast? Most cultures involve some high carb sugary food for breakfast. How would you feel different during the day? Would you feel better or worse? And so it's very individualized. Food is medicine requires that we understand what medicine we need, and that starts with awareness. I don't know if you know, Gertrude, that the part of digestion, the first 25% of digestion occurs before you put food in your mouth. It occurs by thinking about food. And that's what we call the cephalic phase. It's of the head. And when I give this talk on mindful eating, everyone is always amazed when I tell them that your salivary enzymes, your whole digestive process down to your gut is getting primed when you start thinking about food. If I ask you to think of your favorite meal, you might start salivating right away. There's a reason for that. It prepares our body. So imagine what's happening when we're eating so quickly at work, when we're eating in the car, when we're not even paying attention to the food. We've lost 25% of our ability to digest it. So all I'm asking is for people to just pay attention.
Wow. I could talk to you forever on this subject. This is amazing. Now let's go into this amazing book that you've written.
Hmm.
What can people expect? What are the nuggets of wisdom that you've shared in this amazing book, and where can we find it?
Yeah. I really talk about what I was talking about before, which is this difference between joy and happiness, about joy being a radical act of resistance, a way to thrive, not to thrive to get to joy, but to joy to thrive. And really about how we all have this capacity in our body to find ease, safety, and expansiveness again. And that this sort of part of being human is this flow of the river between the harder emotions and the more desirable, pleasant ones. But that joy is a big container that can hold all of that. And so I give many practices and pauses and ways for people to really work through these ideas, ways to understand gratitude at a deeper level, not the way it's given. The way to understand how gratitude can help us through oppression and suffering, how gratitude for difficult things can happen, understanding self compassion as a bold act of justice and the neuroscience behind it. Why self compassion is actually exactly what we need to make change, rather than people thinking they're being too easy on themselves. I explain hope in the brain and many ways of moving and breathing that actually help us restore that ease in our nervous system. And so this book is really a culmination of what I do personally, why I'm thriving now, but why many of my patients, as well as the people I've worked with after hurricanes and wildfires, war in the Ukraine, and particular to my American experience, school shootings is a phenomenon here. So people I've worked with and their stories and how they have instilled joy again through these practices. So it's really an inspiring story as medicine with translatable neuroscience.
So it's available on Amazon.
It is, and, everywhere in the UK and all UK regions as well as the US, and moving out to more as well, but everyone could find it, on Amazon for sure, on my website, yeah.
Fantastic. And if anybody wants to reach out to you, your website's the best place, correct?
Yes, that's a great place. I have an email list that people can sign up for, or I'm very active on Instagram and I love hearing from people. I love hearing takeaways and questions and reflections.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming online today and gracing us with your presence, with your knowledge. I feel really privileged to have met you. Thank you for launching this particular podcast with just the right things that we need to remember, because
Oh,
it's all about us just remembering that we have everything we need to heal. It's
yes,
already
and
there.
I'm so grateful to have been here and for the work you're doing in the world. It's inspiring and so critical. So thank you.
It's an absolute pleasure. So we'll end this segment with the poem that you shared. It's called The Guest House by Rumi. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house, empty of its furniture. Still treat them, each guest, honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whatever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond.
Mm.
Beautiful poem. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. Please remember, ladies, your health is your wealth. Take care of yourself, not just physically, but mentally as well. Because when you are well, you can look after yourself, you can look after your family. I'll be back again next week with yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And bye for now. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into the Her Story Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates, and join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her story.